Now that we've covered the door, the windows, the tile hollowness, let us move on to the bathroom. I think the most important part of the bathroom is we need to make sure that all the fixtures are done properly and there is no dampness, there is no leakage. So we use a lot of tools. Can we request Divya to just let us know the different tools that we as people who are experts in the field use the tools so that we can tell home buyers what is it, where there is dampness, and what are different types of dampness.
Professionals use scientific tools called thermal camera, a thermal imager, and also moisture meter. Thermal imager, we can see the latent dampness also by using thermal imager.
When you say
And moisture,
latent dampness, what do you mean by latent dampness?
sometimes what happens, we may, if we see, we feel there is a dampness, but if you check, there will, for example, if I take a wall and if I, in a common eye, if you see, there will, we can feel it as a dampness on the wall. But when we see through the thermal camera, the position of the dampness or the location of the dampness may be uh,
Different. What is a moisture meter?
it shows the percentage of the moisture uh, in the construction material.
Okay, why should they use both when they already see from the thermography? Why should they also use the moisture meter?
Moisture meter help to identify is the moisture content in the wall, is it a low or medium or the high. Based on that, we can take a decision for rectification of the dampness.
Mr. Suresh, what are the different things that a homeowner should pay attention to in a bathroom?
A homeowner should be looking at it in bathroom. The first thing is the presence of dampness, which Divya explained now how it is done. Second is the floor slopes. The floor slope should be proper so that the water, the bath water, gets drained out immediately without getting stagnated. This is easily checked by pouring water and waiting for not less than a minute, it should get drained out. And you should exercise one more caution while checking. If there is a stagnation, it could also be due to choking of the outlet or the flow trap. If the flow trap is choked, then the water may not flow quickly. So, the moment you identify there is a water stagnation, if you bring it to the notice of the builder, the plumber will check it up and rectify, as the case may be.
What should also they look for in terms of the different fittings and the water pressure? So when you open a tap, water is flowing. How do they know? How does the homeowner know it is sufficient water?
Yeah, there are two of the fittings used. One is the all the coastline fittings, what you call as the sanitary fittings. Second is the CP fittings. That is the commercial plumbing fitting, which is the taps, the faucet, and the shower. So, in case of commercial plumbing fitting, what you should be checking is the functionality, whether the tap really stops the water or is the water dripping even when it is stopped. Same case with the shower, the water should not keep on dripping, or the same case with faucet also. Then the next thing is the amount of water that is required to be flowing. But what you should be checking is whether you get sufficient water when you open the tap.
Also, there are flanges that are provided below the sink when the water inlet. So what should they be look for? What is it that they look for that?
These flanges basically are meant for aesthetic purpose to cover up the gap between the pipe which is entering the wall and if there is any different type of cutting done in the vitrified or the ceramic tiles which are used for the wall dadoing. Usually the flanges should touch the wall without leaving any gap and make it look neat.
Can we look at the electrical aspects? So what should a homeowner be concerned about when they go in, and what should they look for?
To start with, there is what is known as the distribution board, which is in the entrance, where the power supply first comes into the home. From there are circuit breakers and the circuits are divided. In case of some of the high-end villas or high-end flats having multiple rooms, and there will be one more entrance for the servant room or the maid's room, what they normally call as. So there is a possibility it will be provided there also. First and the foremost is it should have a small circuit diagram pasted on that. See, normally what power that comes into the flat is divided into different rooms by different circuits. Like bedroom 1 will be in one circuit, the dining and kitchen may be in one circuit, then the other bathroom and utility may be in another circuit. So like that they divide the circuits for the ease of maintenance or isolation. For example, you want to undertake some repair in bedroom. So when you want to do that, you need not switch off the whole power supply. You can only switch that particular circuit where the bedroom comes in, switch it off and do the maintenance. So this circuit diagram will tell which are the circuits controlled by which circuit breaker. So to switch off or switch on the bedroom 1 or the master bedroom circuit, which circuit breaker should be switching on. When you open the distribution board, there will be small switch-like things, which are with a toggle switch. They are called miniature circuit breakers or MCB, what we call as. See, every plug point should have a child safety plate which comes built in, where a child will not be able to accidentally insert some metallic object into the plug point holes. Before that, I have to come back to the distribution board. There is something called as a earth leakage circuit breaker. In those circuit breakers, there are small miniature circuit breakers, and also there is one big circuit breaker. When there is earthing, as I was telling you, the child accidentally, if it inserts a metallic object into the plug point, it will get electrocuted. So this electrical circuit breaker immediately senses that somewhere some electricity is passing in the earth circuit. Immediately it will trip off the whole supply.
So that prevents somebody from getting electrocuted.
Exactly.
Oh, so that is an important part somebody needs to be aware of when they move into their house, to look at whether the earth leakage circuit breaker is there, whether the MCB is there, and everything has been fitted.
But without ELCB being functional, occupying a house is dangerous. Only the trained electrician, they know where they will not get electrocuted. So they should be checking whether all the light points are working. So when you have a bulb in the light point, it's very easy to check. Switch on and off. But when you don't have a bulb, only the wires are left. So that end will be usually cut flush. So only a trained electrician can remove a little bit of skin and check with a proper test lamp. So that has to be done by a trained electrician. It's not advised for a homeowner to do it. So all the electrical points have to be checked. So for proper power supply, and that electrician will also be able to check whether the switch is provided on the phase or on the neutral.
Let's move on to safety now. Can you repeat the National Building Code part?
See, National Building Code specifies many standards how things should be in a building. It also specifies the height of the riser in a staircase, Riser is the difference in height between two steps. So that is specified up to maximum of 150. So, and even the tread width. The tread is the horizontal distance.
So you're talking about if this is a step. So what you
So that is
step on is the tread, and
Yes.
what is the height is the razor.
Yeah. So those things are all specified in National Building Code. It is a specialized publication by Bureau of Indian Standards. What is given in meters? There's 1.2 meters is nothing but 120 centimeter minimum, and maximum is 150 centimeter.
So 1.5 meters. Can you explain to a homeowner what is the carpet area definition as mandated by RERA today?
First, going to the definition of carpet area, it is specified as the net usable area of an apartment or a building, which is excluding the external wall thickness, but includes the internal wall thickness.
According to you, you said it is net usable area. That means that in the whole building, some parts are not considered net usable, some parts are considered a part of the carpet area. Can you tell a homeowner what is considered and what is not considered part of the carpet area as mandated by RERA?
The footprint of the external walls is not considered as carpet area. Footprint of internal walls is considered as carpet area. Then the third and most important thing is the balconies. Even if it is exclusive balcony, say for example in your bedroom you have a balcony that is exclusively for you, not the balcony in the common area. Balcony which is exclusively meant for you, even that they do not consider it as a carpet area. And the same thing applies for the veranda in case of villas, and utility is again not considered if it is not covered. If it is covered, that becomes part of the carpet area.
What about those shafts where all the service lines run?
The shafts come in two ways. One is the shafts are most of the time placed outside the rooms, and it will be open to outside. So in those cases, it will automatically, the wall covering the shaft will be considered as automatically as external wall, and they are taken out of carpet area. By chance, due to some design factor, the shafts are in the building or within the building. Even then, the shaft, the area covered by the shaft is not considered as a carpet area.
We discussed carpet area.
Yeah.
We also talk about the internal dimensions when a builder mentions 13 feet by 11 feet.
Huh.
How do you measure those internal dimensions? Because in some places the builder says, no, this is before applying the plaster.
We had a question from one of our customers, one of the home buyers. They said a builder will say that my room is 15 feet by 8 feet. So what is that 15 feet by 8 feet actually a measure of?
This dimension of rooms are usually decided by the architect while he is formulating a configuration. Walls come in standard thickness, say talking about 4 inches wall, 6 inches wall, or 8 inches wall, which is 100 mm, 150 mm, or 200 mm in metric sizes. So they consider those walls and then arrive at a dimension of a room. So an architect, while designating a room, he doesn't know what the finishes that are going to be. He doesn't know at that stage, while making a plan, whether you're going for a normal plastering or you're going for a thick cladding or you're going for some false covering where the sizes can vary. So what they call as unfinished walls. What happens is when you go for measuring after the building is complete, they would already finished with a plastering or a granite cladding or even tiles dadoing, or even sometimes what I have seen is even the wooden cladding is done or
paneling is done.
Paneling is done. So when you measure, you get only the internal dimensions sans the wall finishes. So if he is given 8 feet, for example, there is a plastered wall. So easily on either side, the plaster thickness will be half an inch. So half an inch on left side, half an inch on right side. So it will be short by 1 inch, shorter than the 8 feet that is told.
But according to RERA, it is the net usable area. So that means that it is whatever is measured at the end of the day.
But RERA doesn't talk about internal dimensions. RERA only talks about the total carpet area, in which this area is anyway included.
Yeah, so you were mentioning that the wall thicknesses will differ because there is a finishing that is done on the wall. But a home buyer needs to understand that it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, the internal wall thickness is part of the carpet area. Can you please explain that?
Yes, you are right. RERA defines the carpet area as a net useful area. When you say net useful area, you just measure the internal things. So people have apprehension that when you are not measuring the cladding thickness, you are losing some area. That's a wrongful apprehension, because the footprint covered by the internal walls will always get covered in the carpet area. That will be added to the carpet area anyway. But only thing you may have little difference is the plastering for the external walls, the inside plastering. Inside plastering of the external wall will not cover. That's a very insignificant amount of area. And we have done a lot of study. In many cases, we have found out in a normal 2 BHK apartment, this plaster thickness amounts to hardly about 2.5 to 3 square.
So, but also what homeowners should know is they understand their contractual agreement between the builder and themselves. So most contracts will have a variation clause. So could you explain a bit about that?
See, ultimately, it is not the area that is mentioned in the brochure that goes, or whatever area we talk directly, but what is mentioned in the sale agreement, that is the area what matters. And I have seen in many cases they mention the carpet area, and also they mention the balcony area. They also mention the utility area as 3 separate components. So builder need not worry about losing anything because of RERA, or a buyer need not worry that he is missing something. The contract is very, very clear. See, the carpet area is all those areas between the external walls, and then there is a special mention about how much a balcony is getting, how much of utility is getting, how much of parking is getting. So it's very clear. So it's a win-win situation. In case of a villa, we should be looking at the external parts also. So whether the external the finishes are okay, whether there's any plastering defects are there, like any patchy finishes, the painting is done uniformly. And in case of villas, especially the drainage is also part of the home. So the external drainage, that has to be checked by pouring water in the toilet, flushing the toilet, see to that everything flows out properly, and all the compound wall and any garden area has been done properly. One more thing that needs to be checked up when you are buying a home is how much of PG backup that has been provided for your apartment. In certain projects, they provide 100% backup. What I mean by 100% backup is you can run all the equipment as if there is an electricity board power supply without switching on everything. The diesel generator will supply the same amount of power so that you need not switch off anything, you can run everything. But in some projects, because of the economy or not feasibility, they provide say about 50% backup. So in case of 50%, you will be able to use only half the power of what has been earlier being used when you are being connected with the electricity board.
So when you mean by that, that means that they will not be able to use their air conditioner or their geyser, but they will be able to use the fan and lights.
If it is 4 kilowatt power supply, only 2 kilowatt be supplied. So they may switch off the geyser or the air conditioner. Usually all those things which are additional, they can be switched off. Or if they want to use air conditioners, they have to switch off the fridge or all the other lights, something like that. They have to manage within those 50% of the power that is available to them. Firefighting system and provision of same applies only for a high-rise building. High-rise is defined as a building which is more than 50 feet high from the ground level. It doesn't count the basements. So, moment the building is categorized as high-rise, a lot of other firefighting norms have to be adhered to. So, moment it is categorized as high-rise, you have to take provision for fire alarm system and fire suppression system. And in addition to that, there will be a fire hosiery provided in the common passage outside the flat, which contains a reel where a hose, a flat hose or a fabric hose is also kept in place, and you'll have to break open the glass and take out the hosiery and open the valve, and we'll be able to get a hose with pressurized water inside the flat. And this hose will be of sufficient length. You should be able to cover all the flats in that common passage. These are the two things provided for. What you should be looking at as a homeowner is, are there sprinklers in every room? And most of the time what we observe, that is when they provide for the false ceiling, and they should take care that the sprinkler is not blocked by the false ceiling. They should provide an opening, and if the sprinkler is not of sufficient length, they should provide an extension pipe and bring out the sprinkler out of the false ceiling, and it is exposed to the roof.
Which you should, a homeowner should be very cautious not to touch any of the fire safety material. They should ask the builder to do all this. It is in their own interest that the builder only touches any of this.